Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another Be More moment from the car. You know that I generally am not one that does things in the car. It is in my home studio or bust. However, sometimes there are things that I just think about as I'm running errands, etc., and I want to share them with you when I can. And today is that day. Now, you may notice that the camera is shaking a little bit. That's because the air conditioner is on, because the car is on. I absolutely refuse to do a video in July in Florida with no air conditioning. All right, so let's get to it. This is what I was thinking about as I was running errands. I was on a phone call with a really good friend of mine, one of my sorority sisters, and we were talking about the fact she asked how Mediascope went this week, and I said, "Oh, it was great. We had a guest. He's been on before, but it was a great conversation. It was like we were on the phone." And she was like, "Oh, that's so good to hear." She said, "But let me ask you something. How do you go about getting guests?" And I was taken aback because I'm so used to doing this and I'm so used to being in spaces where people do this all the time. It never crossed my mind that there are people who don't know how to get guests or who don't do this. So the process is completely foreign to them. And so I said, you know what? I was thinking about that just now. I said, let me make a video. Now, I can't promise it will be quick. It will be a video about how to get guests or getting guests. First of all, why would you want to have somebody on your show or your podcast, whether it's a live stream, a recording, a recorded, pre-recorded show, or a podcast? Why would you want to have somebody on besides yourself? That's a good question. There are so many people who have shows and it's always just them, and they're great. But often it is great to have what we call in journalism a second voice that can talk intelligently about a topic you want to approach, or just to add that banter. Sometimes, it's hard to bounce stuff back and forth off of yourself. So sometimes it's really good to have another person, and especially if they're a great personality. So what I want to do is talk about, how do you get these guests? Okay, number one, start with your own network. You probably already have a network of people that you know, either in your profession or outside of your profession, that you can approach to say, hey, would you mind coming on my show? I love what you do. You're so knowledgeable. Would you mind coming on? That's a great way to do that. Start with the network of people you have and ask them. Number two, that network of people that you already have, whether they've already come on your show or they haven't, they probably know people that will be good guests for you. Okay? There is a publication that I was just interviewed by that operates that way. They got my name because of somebody else they interviewed. They asked, do you know anybody else that would be great? And somebody gave my name. And so that's how I ended up getting interviewed, which I think is a great model for getting guests. So that's another thing you can do. Okay? Number three, think about, now, if you don't want to let's say you've expended everything, you've already talked to the people you know, you're not really getting any leads with people that they know, then another way is to do a blind call, like a cold call basically, right? So you could do a cold call from the internet, right? You could put up something on the page for your social page for your show, right? Or podcast, and say, hey, are you an expert in XYZ? Do you like to play tennis, swim, such and such? I'd love to have you as a guest. Inbox me and let's talk, right? So those are people you probably don't know or you may not know that will approach you about coming on the show. Sometimes, often, if you've been doing it, like I've been doing it for 9 years, I often just get people who will inbox me and say, hey, I have this, I would love to come on. We'll talk about fit in just a moment, but right now we're just talking about how to get these guests. So you could do a cold call, right, or a blind call, and just go ahead and ask, hey, would you like to come on the show? So you're asking them. Another thing you can do is actually approach. So maybe there is a YouTuber you love to watch. Maybe there's somebody on Instagram that is amazing and you think makes amazing content. Ask them. All you have is no, and that's the all thing you already had before you ask them, right? And it's okay if they say no. More about that in a minute. So ask. When you ask, though, be sure that you are including links to your show, links to the podcast, links to the live stream or pre-recorded video. So, excuse me, so they can see what it is you do. Because if you just ask them and then you're asking them to do the work, you give them the name of the show and you want them to find it, oh, that can be an automatic no for some people because you're asking them to do work. Make it as easy as possible for your guest or possible guest to say yes. Give them everything they need to make the decision. Okay, so let's go back over the ways. Make sure that you are taking notes with this. So you can start with your network. Go ahead and ask people that you know if they would be ready or willing to come on the show. Number 2, ask people that have already been on your show or people that your network knows, friends of friends, right? Colleagues of colleagues. If they know anybody that would want to be on the show, right? Number 3, you could put out a cold call on your social media asking for guests. Number 4, you can approach people that you don't know because you value the work they do and you appreciate their work and ask if they'd be willing to come on. If you do that cold call type of thing, though, with approaching people, be sure that you send them an example or a link to your show so that they can decide whether or not that works for them. So now, I know we're going long, but I do want to say this. Number 1 of this, so I gave you those 4 ways. So number 1 of the next wave, never mind numbers, let's just go. The next thing that I want to talk about is that you may get no's, and it's okay. There are some people, including YouTubers, who think that they are too grand for your platform, and that's okay. They can be grand off of your platform. Because if they don't respect you that way, or they don't think enough of what you do to say yes, and sometimes it's just like they're just too busy and they're not able to come on. But in that case, there should be a nice way to say, maybe I can circle back with you at another point. Sometimes people don't want to come on at all and they'll just keep giving you the runaround. I don't respect those people at all. Just tell me, you know what, this doesn't really fit within my brand, but I may know somebody else who, let me see if I can check around, right? And maybe you do. So be sure you do. You say that, but don't feel bad if somebody says no. It may not be you, and it could be that they don't feel that your show aligns with their brand, and that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't have to. Everybody has a different brand, but let me tell you something about me. And I've said this before. If I ask you and you say no, you don't have to worry about me asking you again, because I don't need your raggedy behind on my show. Okay? If you say no, not just because you can, but because you don't want to, I don't want you to. Don't worry. Alpha and Omega, you are not to me. But I love the guests who say yes. Okay? So, but don't take it personally. Just know that it is not everyone who is going to say yes. Okay? So I wanted to put that out there. And yeah, that's it. So this is what I want from you all. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know also if you are looking to start broadcasting, you're looking to start doing a show or something like that, and you don't know where to start with guests. Let me know that. Hopefully this was helpful. Also, let me know if you have other ways that you get guests. I don't know everything, but maybe you have some other ways that have worked for you in terms of getting guests. Let me know in the comments. All right, I think we've done that. Guess what? I think I'm going to do another one when I get to my next destination, because I have another topic. But I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the Be More streets. Cheers.